Hey guys, welcome back to the Tucson Tires YouTube channel. As always, I'm Zach, and this week we're buttoning up a whole bunch of things on my girlfriend's TJ Jeep. We're finishing up the cooling system, making up some exhaust, and even installing a lift kit in the front of this thing. So all we gotta do is get after it. So here we go.
Hey, is that Timmy's?
Yeah, because we're in Canada.
Alright guys, so you already heard what we're trying to accomplish in today's video, but I thought I'd catch you up since last time. If you haven't watched all the other videos, definitely go do that. There's a playlist of this Jeep, my girlfriend's Jeep. So last time we got the motor running in the Jeep for the first time, and it actually moved under its own power, so that's really awesome. Since last time I just tidied up the wiring just a little bit. There was like 3 wires that I added. I added a power for the choke, that's a keyed source. I added a warning light for the alternator, so that way we can see if it's charging. And then I also ran a RPM wire just because of the factory one wasn't working, and the Jeep thing needs some kind of weird signal, and I don't want to figure that out, so we'll probably end up just putting an aftermarket tack in it and just call it a day. The only other issue I was having since last time is we've just been moving it in and out of the barn here. The fuel pump wouldn't stay on. So same deal, it's not getting an RPM signal, so it's basically just cutting power to all these things that we need. So that was just as easy as figuring out which relay it was here in the fuse box, and they were controlling that by the ground, so I basically just added my own ground, so now when you turn the key on, the fuel pump stays on all the time. So that's working pretty slick. So basically what I want to get started on here is we got to get the rad in here so we can get the cooling system figured out. But before we can do that, we got to do the power steering. So we're going to be putting a GM style power steering pump back onto this motor. So I just got to get this old stuff out of here. We're going to drain it down. And then I bought this line over here. This is for an S10. It has the exact same fitting that goes into the gearbox down there. I just got to bend the line a little differently than it would be in an S10, but I'm hoping that's going to be long enough, and we're going to see if that's going to fit in here. So I'm going to start on that, probably come back to maybe once we have that in there to see if it's going to work, and then we're going to move on to the cooling system, and I'll show you this sweet rad I picked up for this thing. It's pretty wicked. So let's get after this power steering, and maybe it might turn a little better next time you see it. So here we go. So we got that power steering pump in there, and it actually worked out really awesome. I was able to bend that S10 line around. I just followed the old one that actually came out of it to see how I had to bend it. We got it kind of threaded in. I tightened it down and then kind of just tweaked it just a little bit, so that worked out pretty sweet. It goes around the back really nicely, and this was all the factory brackets we had for this pump that was in the Silverado. So we did turn it on, and it does move the wheels, nothing leaks. So that's really sweet. So now what we're going to do is we're going to move on to trying to put the cooling system in. And I'm really frustrated because, you know, when you buy parts online and they say they're a direct fit, well, you know, they never usually seem to work out that way. So I bought this rad. It's really nice, 3-core rad. It's really big. It was supposed to be a direct fit for a TJ Jeep, but it seems to be almost about at least 1 inch too wide. So what we're gonna have to end up doing is I'm gonna try to cut this flange just a little bit, just so that we can move it over in there. We're kind of mocking it up already. I have a straight upper rad hose fitting to put on there so that we can get away from this sensor there. But I'm going to try to cut that, and then we're going to come back to once maybe it's kind of just semi-mocked up in there. I got to watch out. I got a cat that's going to try to walk across it. Get going, Lacey. But I'm going to cut that, and then we'll see how it works out. Lacey. So we managed to get the rad in there. We only had to do a small little modification to it there. I don't know if you can see it. It's kind of hard to see. But basically, we just kind of notched it out a little bit just to move it over to the passenger side just a little bit. So that's pretty sweet. Basically, we needed to get it over here so that the steering would clear there, and that the power steering lines would clear down there. So that's all pretty sweet. This side, the bracketry was pretty easy to make up. We just made a small bracket there. The other two, we just drilled new holes in the aluminum. This side, I had to just make up one little kind of Z bracket there, and then the bottom we're able to do a spacer down into the original rad support. So you know, even though that this rad came the wrong size, it still worked out pretty nice for this. Me and Dad, we found some hoses. We cut up an upper, that was like an LS one for a truck, so we were able to make that work. The lower one, I have no idea what that's from. I just bought some heater lines at the auto parts store, so those are brand new. We got only, I think, about half of this full with coolant. I still got to pick some up. And we got the fan thrown on there. I am going to make a shroud, but for now, this is going to be, you know, just enough just to obviously make it so that we don't have to worry about it overheating and stuff like that while we move it around. So I don't think there's much more to do underneath the engine bay here just yet. Actually, I think that's pretty well about it. Maybe just a nut and bolt check, but maybe once we come back, we're going to have it maybe up on the hoist, and we can see maybe about start making some exhaust and doing everything under there. But this is looking pretty sweet so far. Lacey, what do you think? I mean, she doesn't care. She just thinks it's a jungle gym. Alright guys, so it's a new day. We got everything moved out of the barn to get the Jeep onto the hoist. Check out freaking Dad's freaking wagon, dude. This thing is looking sick. It's pretty well ready for paint. He's got the new rear end in it, you know, through the wheels on it, so she's looking pretty mint. We did drive this out of the barn last night. We filled up the coolant today. I bought some. So I figured we're going to take you along for a ride in the Jeep to get it on the hoist. I don't know how it's going to run. I still got to buy a carb rebuild kit. We're going to see how it goes here. You can see my setup. I still have to put this is the warning light for the alternator. I got to put that into the dash somewhere, but that's just there for now. And this has been the shifter setup, this nice vice grip. So we're going to see how it goes here. Yeah, it's in first gear. Is it going to be a 1 pump? We still got to do some timing, but we'll do 2 pumps. Not bad, not bad. Check engine. Well, I know it's there. All right, here we go. Oh, we died. Oh no. Mint. Alright guys, so we got the Jeep up on the hoist now, and it's a lot nicer driving it around than pushing it, so that's awesome. But we're going to be doing this exhaust system on a budget. Basically, this is all stuff I had around. I only bought a few things, so, you know, we had this Y that came out of Mom's Corvette, so that's going to help us out a lot, just so we don't have to make up one. And then I had this other exhaust system that came out of a frame that I've bought in the past. So basically, we should have enough stuff here to make up something for the Jeep and not spend a whole bunch of money. I did buy these 2 couplers so that we could do a joint from the Y to this other system, and then those are the other 2 couplers there that are going to go up onto the headers. And then I just bought some simple clamps and some exhaust hangers there so that we can hang it all up. So basically what I'm going to do first is I'm going to get those couplers bolted up onto these headers here so that we can see where we're going to make the Y. We'll do the Y first, and then we'll see about doing the rest of the exhaust back. So I'm going to start making that up, and then maybe we'll come back to once I kind of have it tacked together to see what it's going to look like. And then yeah, I think that's the best plan there. So let's get after it. Alright guys, so I spent some time making up this exhaust. I didn't show anything on making up this Y just because it was a really tedious process making up all the bends and fitting them in there, but it's looking really sweet now. It's bolted in there for good. But we do have the rest of the exhaust to weld up, so I'm just going to show you that right now, what I got going on here. So I like to do a flange just in case if I ever had to take the motor out, we could take the front part of the exhaust off, so that's really handy there. I just got to do a little bit of trimming here to fit out the pipe just a little bit better. I didn't have a long enough piece to go from there to there, so I had to weld one up, but hey, this was free, so you know, that's all right, I'll deal with that. We got the muffler situated in here. This is a Flowmaster. Hopefully it's going to sound pretty good. I have no idea. And then had to tweak the back arch just a little bit over here. So I had to extend it about 6 inches, and then we just have a joint right here that I got to weld up. But this is looking really awesome. It's going to dump out here behind the passenger side tire. We are going to do some clamps just yet, but I just got it set up in there just so that we can weld it. So we're going to set you guys up on the hoist somewhere here, and we're going to burn this thing in on a time lapse. So let's get after it. So we got that exhaust all welded up and it's looking really sweet. We just got some hangers thrown on it here. We just did one like this on the cross member, and then we just did one in the back there. I was going to do a third one up here in the wheel arch area, but it's pretty sturdy that it shakes the whole Jeep, so I'm not too worried about it. I think this joint here really helps that it holds it nice and sturdy. But now I think we're going to move on to doing the springs in the front end. We're going to put the lift springs in, but just before we do that, we're going to lower it down and we're going to hear what the Jeep sounds like with its new exhaust system. I'm hoping it's going to sound pretty sweet. So let's bring it down and see what it sounds like. I mean, we still got to do a tune on it. It's not running the best, but it's a lot better than open headers. Alright guys, so we're going to try to tackle putting these lift springs in now, and I bought these for a Jeep that had a inline 6 in it with air conditioning. So hopefully they're going to be pretty beefy for the front end of this thing now that it's got the V8 in there. Basically, my thoughts are is we're going to put them in the way they are. It might lift it too high. I know they're going to have to settle. So basically, we'll see what happens with them after we start driving this thing. And then if it's still too high, then we can always lower it down. I've never done this before, so I'm just going to kind of try to tackle it the way I think it goes. I know I probably have to disconnect the shocks and potentially the sway bar. And I'm going to take the calipers off just so that I don't have to deal with any of that stuff. So I'm going to start digging into this, and then we'll come back to once I got it kind of figured out how it comes apart. So I got my trusty friend Lacey to help me, so let's get after it. Alright, so we basically got it ready for the axle to drop down, so I'll just show you what I disconnected. So I disconnected the top of the shock. I had to do a thing with a old serpentine belt to actually grab that there to get the nut off, but that came off. We took the calipers off. And I disconnected the sway bar. There was also a little clip that actually holds the bottom of the spring. This side was missing. The other side had it. So I just had to disconnect one of those. So basically now what we're going to do is we're going to try to drop the axle and see if those springs are going to pop out, and then we're going to do basically the reverse with the new spring. So I'm going to set you guys up on the tripod and we're going to drop her down. Okay, we're going to go down slow. You ready?
Yeah. Oh, no, I can't hold on to that. Well, I was trying to see if I could pop it out, right?
Well, it should go.
Because it's going and it bent it the other way now.
That went it. Well, I mean, that's fine. Right? I mean, you could spin that nut on there and whack it. It was this, this one, I think. And the hammer's behind you. There's a little hammer behind you.
You want to jack it up?
Yeah. I'm just going to spin this nut on there. How high you want it?
Well, just so I'll tell you when.
Unless you just want me to keep going down. See what happens. Hi?
Yeah, hold on. Okay, go down, see what happens.
Let me take this out. I mean, if it just goes around, whatever, I guess.
See, it might be holding us, binding us up now, right?
Yeah, it's hanging. But that's basically hanging. You think if I get one of those forks?
Maybe.
For like a ball joint fork? There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's on the way to the axle now on the jack stand.
It's tapered.
Yeah, so it's just like a ball joint.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, that's good, I guess, right?
This one.
Does that pop?
Yep.
No, it's still hanging on something. What's it hanging on?
You go down with the jack more?
It's not hanging on the jack.
Yeah, probably this, maybe that link.
Which one? Oh, is it hanging up on the panhard bar? Yeah. That's what it's doing. Alright, so I guess I had to disconnect the panhard bar, so we're going to do that now. And then we're going to come back. Alright, so we got the panhard bar out. So this is going to be take 2. Let's see how it goes. Ready, Dad?
Mm-hmm. Is that it?
Well, I'm off. You think it's freaking glued at the top? It's freaking in there, dude.
Yeah, the bump stop fell out.
Did it?
Yeah, you have to glue it in or something.
What, the rubber?
No, we're gonna go now.
Well, there we have it. We got those out. Maybe I should clean up the bottom where the spring is.
Now, where'd that rubber go? See it over there?
It's never good when you lose your rubber. Alright guys, so we're just trying to get these springs in here now. Me and Dad, we don't have a spring compressor, so we just compress the springs on the press and then we just put some wire on it. So we're just trying to get those in that way. Probably use a spring compressor or not do this, but this is the best we got. I'm gonna put my foot on it.
move it out, it falls out of there.
I'm gonna put my foot here.
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. We got one side. Now all we got to do is do the other. So me and Dad, we're gonna get that one in off camera, and then we're gonna get this thing back together, and then see what it looks like for the first time with these humongous springs. Well, there we have it, guys. The Jeep is looking a lot better with that lift kit in it. I'm still hoping it's gonna go down a little bit. If you actually look at it from the side profile, you can see the back is just down a little bit more than the front end. But I'm really hoping that once we start driving this thing that it's gonna settle. If not, either we're gonna heat up the front to lower it down, or I'll just get something to lift the back up. I'm not too sure yet, but we made some really great progress on the Jeep in this video. I didn't know what I wanted to do with this video, so it took a little longer to get out than I was hoping to. But I mean, it is what it is. We got a lot of other issues, so I was really hoping to actually button this whole thing up in this video. But you're gonna have to stick around for the next video to see what's wrong with this thing that we can't finish it up. So we got transmission issues. But you'll just have to wait for that video. So Jeep's looking awesome. So, but anyways, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. And as always, don't forget to salute the beefer. We'll catch you next time. Lacey, what do you got to say? Nothing.